All right, October 20th. Let's go look at the polls here. So, the last 4 or 5, these national popular vote polls, Trump is actually winning. Biden overperformed the poll by about 4.5%, but we can't know that just because it was been wrong in every single election that favored Democrats. That'll always hold true. We can make that assumption, but we're kind of just basing it off past predicting present. But let's go look at that. You look at any of these polls, Fox News was showing Trump at, -2. Now he's at +2. Atlas Intel has not really changed. The TIPP had Harris +4. Now it's got Trump. Emerson had Harris at +4. Now it's got Harris +1. These were right here from Biden's era, so that's why there's a big one here. Reuters had Harris at +6. Now they've got her at +3. Basically like the big trend right here, except for Harvard Harris had a tie after Biden dropped out and didn't have anything before that. CBS News showed Harris dropping like 1 point, but they're a bit old. NBC News had Harris at +5, and now it's a tie. So we can see the general trend right here. Trump has a decent chance to win the popular vote. But now let's get into the battlegrounds. Trump is now winning in every single battleground state. You can see him pulling ahead. He's 1% overall, which is pretty low. But when you go and click any of these, you'll see that it's most of the more recent polls showing the bigger leads. And if you go and look at the trends, the ones Trump's doing great in, he's not slipping. Biden was up 3% in Arizona. Biden was up 5% in Nevada, which he did not win by 5%. And you go and look at these trends, and Trump was slightly behind, and now he's up. Wisconsin's like the most interesting one because Biden was up 6 points in the polls and won it by less than 1. Hillary was up +6.5 and she lost it. And you go look at the trends where Harris is just dropping, Trump's gaining. Basically every state here, we just go look at all the more recent polls are showing a Trump lead. And this is just kind of the trend that's happening everywhere. Like, look at Pennsylvania. She was winning by about 1%. Now she's losing by 1%. And the ones that are calling her winning is like New York Times. And some of these older ones right here, they're from early in October. Of the more recent ones, she's losing all but one. North Carolina's a bit more iffy. Quinnipiac, not very reliable, but however, she is winning in Atlas, which Atlas is a very reliable pollster. So Nevada is actually, one of the best ones for her, where it's kind of a toss-up still. I would say that's her, best one is like right now with North Carolina, the polling, where Trump only overperformed 1% in North Carolina. That's actually one of his worst, states compared to his polling. He still overperformed, but only by a little bit. Now, Georgia, there's only one poll here that shows Harris winning, and we go look at the 30-day trend, and it's not really changing much. It's like, Trump was up like 1.5, and now he's up like 1.5. He's up 1.8, but it's, basically unchanged. So Harris is not doing very good in any battleground states. When we go and look at the betting odds, Trump 60% on Polymarket, Harris 40%. Her best thing's on Predict It with 46 and his 52.9. So Pennsylvania, likely red. Michigan, lean red, almost to likely. Wisconsin, likely red. Nevada, almost likely red. 55% is what we consider likely for betting odds. Oops, just updated. So, North Carolina and Georgia, people are saying, Trump's very likely to win. North Carolina and Nevada are kind of like the closest for polling, but, people are expecting Trump to overperform his polls in these other states, similar to the extent he did before. But even if he doesn't, assuming the polls are perfectly accurate, he still wins. Now, there's another one right here, the 13 keys. People always talk about Alan Lichtman's 13 keys right here. And this is actually the funny one, because people will actually say that the 13 keys are predicting a Harris victory. But do they actually do this? party mandate. This one's not true. Democrats do not have more seats now after the last midterm in 2022 than they do after 2018. So they do not have that. However, Trump only had one term, so it's a bit harder to show like what the, usually they have the second, the second term of the candidate, so it's a bit iffy. I think 13 keys are 100% bullshit, by the way. I'm not defending them, I'm just saying, she doesn't have that one. No primary contest. I'd argue that one's invalid because it wasn't that she ran and nobody was actually, even close to her because she was just dominating so hard. She literally did not run, but we'll give it to her anyways. Now, the incumbent party candidate's the same president. Not the case, so she does not get that key. No third party. I'll give her that because RFK dropped out, so the third party candidate is not really relevant. Well, he didn't actually, fully drop out. He just suspended campaigning, but it's essentially the same thing. Like, he's on the ballots in some states, but he's telling people don't vote for me, and he's not trying to win. So the economy is actually in a recession. If you go and look at adjusted for inflation, our GDP is below the inflation rate since 2022. The recession actually started in 2021 in November when Biden shut down the ports, which shut down global trade and caused a global recession. Now, we're still in that today, 2 years later, or almost 3 years now. Real per capita income, or not income, economic growth during the term equals or exceeds mean growth during the previous two terms. No, in fact, our growth is actually negative when it's real. The real means adjusted for inflation. So no, our economic growth is actually in the negative. So not only is it not beating Obama's second term, but it's also not beating Trump's by a huge margin. Now, the incumbent administration affects major changes in national policy. True, I don't know what this means. Like, is it, say, positive or negative? Because, there's been a lot of negative policies. People are very unhappy with Biden. There's a reason he dropped out. He couldn't run because he was very unpopular. Now, there's no sustained social unrest. There's literally riots happening right now. There's major scandals all the time. Like the fact that they, were literally conspiring to jail Trump and get him removed off the ballots, which is coming up again. There's all the corruption shit with Biden and Hunter and, all the shit's happening. Like every week there's a new scandal with Biden. There's no failure in foreign or military affairs. Afghanistan was pretty bad. And also now the entire world is at war because of our foreign policy. We have not achieved any major success. This one is actually the funniest. Some people have literally tried to say Kamala Harris is charismatic. She is not charismatic. She is terrible. She's one of the most uncharismatic people anybody's ever seen. Trump actually is charismatic. Like, people actually like listening to him speak. Kamala Harris, has not even done a single press interview because of this. But with this right here, they say that, like if you have 6 or more of these being false, then you're likely to lose. So how many of these are false? We only have 3 out of the 13. So there's 10 that are predicting a loss. Now, I think the keys are bullshit, but yeah, like this one is clearly stupid. Like these keys, like they'll just fuck with the keys after the election and just say like, oh, well, you see, the keys predict a loss for Kamala, but then if she wins, they'll just like be like, oh, look, the keys, we're in a strong economy now, and we're, all these other things are positive. Like, they'll just change those. Like, the keys are bullshit. The fact that everybody's betting on Trump to win, the fact that polling says Trump's going to win, the fact that other candidate is still polling at 0.5% is the fact that some people think that Trump could get assassinated and then still win the election, and then another person goes in office. That's what that other is. People are literally expecting, like, at a 1% chance that Trump's going to get killed on the betting odds. Which, by the way, betting odds for Trump to be no would also be, people thinking that either Harris or assassination. And people betting yes on Harris, a lot of people could think Trump gets assassinated and then, J.D. Vance or whoever takes over loses. So, like, I'd love to see what the actual odds on people expecting Trump to get assassinated are, but it looks right now that Harris is basically fucked. She is not going to do very good when she's losing every single swing state. And Trump historically overperforms polls. He overperformed more in 2020 than he did in 2016. They have not really overestimated Republicans since 2012, and it was a very tiny amount.